today we're going to be learning about from a graph, looking at the graph and then writing the equation of a line, okay? You guys all were given a paper like this, okay? So we're going to do our notes on the paper and then you guys can glue it in at the end, okay? All right, so let's take a look at the first problems. What form is it asking you to write the equation of the line in? Okay, so it's asking you for slope-intercept form, okay? So let's recall what is slope-intercept form. Y equals what? Mx plus b, okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that we identify two really important parts of the line. Okay, the first part that's really important that we identify is the slope, and the second part is the y-intercept. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this first line here. Okay, on this first line, what we want to do is we want to figure out where is this line crossing the y-axis, at what exact point. That's going to be our y-intercept. Okay, so where is it crossing the y-axis? Way down here, right? Okay, what is this point right here? -5. Okay, so that's going to be your y-intercept. Okay, now we want to find the slope. So the slope is going to be my rise over my run to the next good point on the graph. Now, if I pick a point like here, that's not a very good point because it's like right in between the grid lines, right? So I want to pick a point that's more like exactly on the grid line so it's easy to count. So if I keep going up, it looks like my next good point is right about here. Does that make sense to you guys, why it's right there? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that point and I'm going to count my slope between those 2 points, okay? So what is my slope between these 2 points? Well, what's your rise? 7. Okay, and what's your run? 1. Okay, so we're just finding the rise and the run when we're finding our slope. Okay, now this 7 over 1, this really reduces to what? 7. I want to write it with its reduced form. Okay, so now all I have to do is put these two things into the equation right here. Okay, so I'm going to get y equals 7x plus -5. Well, what's plus -5? Yeah, just -5. If your y-intercept is a negative, just write minus the number. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is your final answer. So that's all we're doing is we're looking at the graph and writing an equation of the line. Okay, are there questions on how we did the first one? Okay, I want to see if you guys can try to do number 2. Okay, so right now, I want you guys to try to find your y-intercept, try to find another good point, and find your slope, and see if you guys can come up with the answer on number 2. Then I'm going to call on some people to tell me what they came up with for their numbers. Bless you. Okay, so let me call on somebody. Okay, Aries, what do you get for your y-intercept? -3. Okay, good. So we should have got -3 for our y-intercept. Okay, now for our slope. Depends where we put our exact point, okay? But if you're looking, is this exactly on where the grid lines cross here? No. If I keep going, I don't find an exact point till way up here, right? Does that make sense? So you want it to be super exact, where that point is exactly where those grid lines come together, okay? If I look here, it's just slightly off, so I'm not going to use that point. So now let's go ahead and find our rise and our run. So what's our rise?
5.
Yeah, I'm starting at this point, right? And I'm actually going 5 in which direction? Negative, down, right? If you think about that slope dude video you watched, he's skiing downhill here. Nice, negative, right? So it has to be a -5 for my rise. Now, what's my run? 2. Okay, so my slope is -5/2. All right, so now let's go ahead and write the equation of the line. So y equals m. What is m? -5/2 x plus -3. Well, am I really going to write plus -3? No, just write what? -3. Okay. How many of you were able to get that one right? Raise your hand if you did. Okay, nice work. Okay. All right. Let's now take a look at the next examples. Okay. On the next examples, what form is it asking you to write the equation of the line in? Yeah, point slope. Okay. Let's recall what point slope form looks like. Is there anyone that remembers what the generic equation for a point slope form looks like? Aries, do you remember it?
Y minus y1
Mm-hmm.
equals m times x minus x1.
Very good. Okay. All right. So there's my generic form of point slope form, right? That's just like the equation without any numbers filled in. Now, in order to write an equation in point slope, we want to have some of these specific values filled in. So we definitely want to fill in the slope. Okay, we definitely want to fill in the y1 and the x1. Now, did you guys notice in the instructions it says use the given point to help you? Okay, it's telling you this so that way everyone's equation turns out the same. Okay, however, even if we were to use a different point, the two equations that I make, no matter what point I use, as long as it's on the line, they end up simplifying to the same thing. Okay, but just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to check your work tomorrow on the homework, I want you to use the given point that's on the graph. Do you guys see the given point there? Okay, so what is that given point? What's the ordered pair for this point right here? -1, 5, right? So by labeling that given point, I've found this one's my x1 and this one's my y1, right? So I already have these two things that I can put in here, right? Okay, now all I need is the slope. So they gave me 1 point already. Let's try to find another point somewhere at a good spot on this line to help me find my slope. So does anyone see another point that looks good? Okay. Over here? Is that an okay point? Or right here? Do you guys want the farther one or the closer one? Okay. Now, whether you use the one that's farther or the one that's closer, it doesn't matter. Your slope's always going to be the same because the farther one will reduce to the same thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so what is our rise here? 1. What is our run? 2. Okay, so our slope is 1/2. If I had used the farther point, my rise would be 2 and my run would be 4. So I would have got 2/4, which reduces to 1/2. Same thing, okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and let's write the equation of this line. So y minus, what is y1? 5 equals m, what is m? Times x minus, what is x1? -1. So minus -1. Do I want my answer to have minus -1? No. Okay. So what am I going to change that to? +1? Okay. All right. So we get y minus 5 equals 1/2 times x plus 1. This is the final answer. Okay. Are there questions on how we did that one? Danny?
Why does the slope is 1/2?
Why is the slope 1/2? Because between these 2 points, what's your rise? What's your run? So remember, slope is rise over run. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. What I want you guys to do now is I want you guys to try number 4. So everyone try number 4. Label your point. Find your slope. See if you can write the equation of the line. Okay. When you're done finding it, share your answer with your neighbors. Okay. All right, so I'm going to call on someone to tell me their point that they chose. Okay, so what is your point that you chose? Let's see. Sabrina, what point was your point? Okay, -2, -3. This would give us our x1 and our y1 values. Good. Okay, now, depending on where we put our dot, was going to determine how we found our slope, but remember the slope should have been the same no matter what. Okay, so let's see. Makai, what did you get for your slope? You didn't get it? Okay. So did you not get it because you weren't sure where to put the dot? Okay. So I could put the dot in a few places, right? I wouldn't want to put it here, not here, but I could put it here. Does that make sense? Or I could even, like, keep going. I could put it way up here. There's a few places. I could put it also down here, right? Do you see how all those points are where the grid lines cross? Does that make sense? Okay, now, no matter where I put it, it's going to end up being the same. Look, say I put it here, and I'm going from here to here. What's my slope? My rise is going down how many? 6. What's my run? Over 2. Now, what does that reduce to? -3/1, which is really just what? -3, okay? Now, what if I had found it between these 2 points? My rise would have been going down 3/1. Wouldn't that give me the same thing? Yeah. So it doesn't really matter which point I pick as long as it's a good one where the grid lines are crossing. Does that make sense? If I had used these 2, I would have gone down 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. Does that make sense? So it's the same no matter which point I pick. Okay? All right. So from there, let's look at your final equation. Y minus, what was y1? -3 equals m. What's m? -3 times x minus. Now, do I want this?
No.
No. So what is my final answer? Y plus 3 equals -3 times what? X plus 2. Okay? This is your final. Who got that final correct? Just curious. All right. Good job. Okay. So here's what you guys are going to do next. Okay? Yesterday when I was gone, you guys, the second activity you were supposed to do was a Desmos activity, which a lot of you guys did not get to. Okay? So if you did not finish the Desmos activity, you're going to finish the Desmos activity here are your class codes, okay, depending on what period. So you guys, okay, all right, now, okay, I'm also going to have a homework assignment for you guys tonight, which is the Module 6 review. I'm going to pass that out to you, okay? You guys are going to do which problems on that? Odds only, okay? So, you're working on this first. Then if you finish, then you can work on this, okay? Now, hold on, I'm not done. Voice is off. Okay, don't forget to glue this paper that we just did into your notes. Okay, there's glue out on your desk right now. Okay, so glue that in before you forget. Okay?